my favorite books of all time. We have 7 books. We're gonna go from number 7 to number 1. Here we go. We're starting with Nostalgia by Mircea Cartarescu. This guy used to be my favorite writer when I was a teenager. How did I end up reading him? We had an assignment for school to read some short stories from this book. You know, I wasn't very happy about it necessarily. The first book that I had to read back then was Harry Potter, and I was really in a fantasy mood, and I wasn't a big reader back then. So then I picked up one of these short stories for school, and I realized that I don't understand anything, but everything is mesmerizing. He's very chaotic. To read that kind of a story when you're 15 years old, just getting into reading, it is definitely mind-blowing, but it can also be a little overwhelming. But it had the opposite effect on me. I wanted more and more and more. A couple years after I read Nostalgia, which, by the way, I didn't read the whole thing. It's full of short stories and I still haven't read the whole thing. I went to see him at a book fair with my mom because I was scared of traveling alone. I now live in the city where I traveled to see him. But back when I think I was 17, back then, I asked my mom to come with me to the book fair. It was on June 1st, and that's also Mircea Cartarescu's birthday, which is really funny because that's Children's Day. And I always found that he had such a pure heart and it was so innocent. I think because of that idea that I had of him, when I first heard him speak that day, I started bawling my eyes out. I was just crying when he opened his mouth and started speaking. I don't know what it was. I just felt that I am witnessing providence. It might just be the mind of a fangirl. That's all there is to it. I started seeing Solenoid in various booktubers videos from the US, and they seem to like it, which I'm very glad, because I feel that he really deserves everything that he's getting right now. He's one of the best writers out there, I can tell you that. For me, he's one of my favorite writers ever. Even though this is number 7 on the list, he's had probably the most impact on me out of every other writer on this list. Just because he was the catalyst of my reading life. Number 6, Siddhartha. At school, we always heard of the glass bead game. I remember my teacher was always praising it and telling us that we should read it when we get older. But I still haven't gotten to it. I have read Siddhartha, Damien, Steppenwolf, 3 books. But I think this one stuck with me the most. It's a journey on spirituality, longing, I guess, love, getting to know yourself, getting to know who you truly are. It's sad, fun, enlightening. Basically what happens in it is that this guy, who we follow throughout the book, he's born into a very good family. He has a lot of money, but he decides that he wants to go off by himself. It feels timeless. It's one of the best books that I've ever read. Hello, this is Editing Gabby. You're gonna see me throughout this video a lot because I realized I did not talk nearly enough about these books. The reason why I love Siddhartha so much is somehow it came into my life at the most perfect time ever. I was feeling at peace with everything that was happening. Also, I was feeling lost because yes, I think these two feelings can coexist. And I was reading a lot of books on spirituality, and I was working somewhere, and one of my coworkers gave me a gift. It was a book from Hermann Hesse. The one, I don't know what it's called in English. I'm gonna put it somewhere. She told me that I reminded her of the main character. Anyways, she gave me this book. And then, a couple of months after, I received that exact copy of Siddhartha that I showed you, also as a gift from another one of my coworkers. So I got 2 books from Hermann Hesse from 2 different people. I felt and took that as a sign and read Siddhartha, and it truly kind of changed my life. When I read Steppenwolf, I was about 16 years old. I didn't understand anything. I wish and want to reread it, but I do remember that I liked it and that it was so mysterious to me, and I wanted to sleep and dream of that feeling of solitude and be as smart as the main character was and be surrounded by books everywhere and read as much as I could. So I knew that I liked Hermann Hesse, and when I got these 2 books, again, I took that as a sign. I read Siddhartha, and I absolutely adored it. I think it will forever remain on my favorite books list. Unfortunately, I couldn't talk about it that much to you, and I still can't because some things have to be reread. Some things you have to go through multiple times in order for them to really stick with you. Because unfortunately, we do have a life to live and our memory isn't forever. So, yeah, all that I can tell you is that it came to me at the most perfect time. Number 5, Call Me By Your Name by aciman. I read this book while I was in Italy. The action of this book happens in Italy, so it was very cathartic. The book explores this lust, this love. I don't know how to explain to you. I feel like it doesn't matter how much I'm talking about it. You probably already know because it's Call Me By Your Name. But I just want to say it impacted me in such a way where I felt seen, kind of. I felt seen in literature for the first time, and it's really weird. The only times I really had that, especially when I first started reading, was when I read books that had gay characters. So I don't know what it is. I don't know why that's the case. Probably the writers are just very sensitive people. This book also had me desperate and very sad, and I cried. It's also a reminder for me, every time I think about my experience reading this book, I remember how passionate I was about it. I remember how all I wanted to do was read this. How it was actually the most expensive book that I've ever bought. By that point, I didn't have my own money. So I paid around $10 or something for it, which is not a lot. But back then, for me, it was something. I just loved this book. It marked me so deep. And the movie I watched multiple times, I felt that it was so poetic. I don't know, it was me. In every single paragraph, it was me. I wished I were like those soldiers in films who run out of bullets and toss away their guns as though they would never again have any use for them. The next book is also LGBTQ, The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. And I have a pretty interesting story with this one that I am very proud of. This isn't the copy that I read. I got my copy from the library, and I had the most fun and most horrifying time of my life reading this book. I was so involved. Then I had to return it, and I realized I need a copy of it. But not just any copy. I need the copy in Romanian, exactly the one that I read, exactly the same edition that I had in my hands when I read it. Thankfully, I finally found a copy on a Facebook group. I asked the girl nicely to send it to me. She actually put in another book. She gifted me another book randomly, which was so very nice. And then guess what? A year after I finally got that edition, after looking every single week for it, it got reprinted. Yeah, am I not the luckiest? Can you see what's going on? I'm mesmerized by this snow. We're down to the top 3. East of Eden by John Steinbeck. You might be wondering why do I own 2 volumes of this? It's because it's a very old copy that was published in 2 volumes in Romanian. They look horrendous. They're so beaten up. They have been read and loved by many people before me, even though I was the first one to take notes on them. This book, I felt that it just flew by. It's somewhat of a retelling of Cain and Abel in a Steinbeckian way, which continues to surprise me every fucking time I read one of his books. I can't fathom how he put himself in those mindsets, in those situations, given the fact that he was raised in a wealthy family. How can he put himself in the shoes of people that go through such poverty, such challenges? I don't know. He must have gone through some of that shit as well. I don't know. But I love Steinbeck. He's one of my favorite writers ever. I have read The Grapes of Wrath too, just last year. I loved it, but I still prefer East of Eden. If you've never read Steinbeck before, I do recommend that maybe you start with one of his shorter books, like The Pearl, or Mice and Men, or Tortilla Flat. Even Travels with Charlie is a really good one. Love all of his books. What can I say? I feel so attached to East of Eden. I don't know, maybe it's also because of the fact that it looks horrendous. The copy that I have looks horrendous. And I felt that I had to protect it. Number 2 on the list is a book that I have read twice, just because of how fascinated I was with the writing and the storytelling. An author that you know for sure, but you probably haven't read this book, and if you have, I congratulate you. You're amazing and we should be friends. It is Death in Her Hands by Ottessa, which I read because I saw it in a video that Aurelius made, who I've been watching for the past 9 years, something like that. This has become one of my favorite books of all time. The first time I read it, I was just fascinated by it. I was so enthralled. And the second time I read it, I went into it with the mindset that I was going to take notes to kind of study it and, I don't know, decipher how she managed to write such a beautiful story. Well, it's not necessarily a beautiful story, is it? It's not beautiful. It's not a beautiful story. It's, I would say, it's a thriller, I think. I would say that it's a fascinating story. Let's just put it like that. It's a fascinating story. It's a mystery. I'm gonna read you the back. While on her daily walk with her dog in the woods near her home, Vesta comes across a chilling handwritten note. Her name was Magda. Nobody will ever know who killed her. It wasn't me. Here is her dead body. So, we have a note, but we don't have a body. We have a lady. She finds this note and she gets obsessed with it. She wants to know what happened, who this woman is. And she's the kind of lady that when she sees the name Magda on that note, thinks to herself, well, she's not an Anne, she's not a Julia, she's not a whatever. She's a Magda. She must be an interesting person with that kind of name. On my second read, as I told you, I wanted to kind of dissect the way that it was written, but I only took notes up to page 100 because after that I got too involved in the story again. And I feel like I need to tell you about something that happened on a really random day while I was at work. I was working at an online bookstore, so somebody ordered Lapvona by Ottessa moshfegh, and it came with a defect. I don't know exactly now to tell you, but I sent photos to the girl that ordered it and she said she didn't want it anymore, so she ordered another copy. So I got to keep this one, and guess what? It's signed, baby. I got the signature of one of my favorite writers, all by accident. Honestly, look at that. We got to the first book on the list, my number one, the one that has my heart. I am currently rereading it. It is Stoner by John Williams. I love this book to death. I actually heard about it many times, but I always avoided it because I thought the guy was just a smoker. I thought he got stoned all the time. I never actually read the synopsis of it. And oh dear, was I wrong. This is the most beautiful work of literature that I have ever read in my life. I'm just gonna read you the back because I don't know if I can do it justice. I'm just too involved to be able to explain to you what it's about. William Stoner enters the University of Missouri at 19 to study agriculture. Later, he becomes a teacher. He marries the wrong woman. His life is quiet. And after his death, his colleagues remember him rarely. Yet, with truthfulness, compassion, and intense power, this novel uncovers a story of universal value. Emphasis on universal value. I'm putting the emphasis there. Stoner tells of the conflicts, defeats, and victories of the human race that pass unrecorded by history and reclaims the significance of an individual life. Julian Barnes says it's a terrific novel of echoing sadness. Who else do we have here? New York Times says Stoner is a perfect novel, so well told and beautifully written, so deeply moving that it takes your breath away. And it truly does. I had to stop many times after finishing a paragraph, put the book down. Actually, I was reading it on Kindle the first time I read it, so I had to put my Kindle down and take a deep breath and think. If you want to see me read a passage from this book, I made a video where I show you my bookshelf and read to you. You can watch it here. I'm also going to put a screenshot of all of the other books that I had on the list. Let me move so I can put the screenshot in. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I tried talking about all of the books on the list, but I realized that only the books that I showed you today were the ones that were most enticing and exciting for me to talk about. These were my favorite books of all time. Please send me recommendations for new books to read because, again, books, really good books, make life worth living. Ciao.